Hi.
Hi. How are you today?
Oh, good. I'm pretty good. A little bit sick. Everybody's a little sick.
Oh, that's no good.
I'm tour right now, but we're holding it together.
Cool. Is that too much partying, or one guy gets a cold, you all get a cold?
Yeah, I think that's more it. You know, we're all on a bus together. So when one person starts hacking up a lung, it just spreads like wildfire.
Bugger. I'll get straight into it, so don't take up too much of your time.
Okay.
How was the recording process this time around? Now that you had a new member.
Well, I mean, it was great. It was one of the great things about this situation is that Billy, our new drummer, he moved into my house with me.
Okay.
So it was really efficient and easy to write together. And it was great. It wasn't forced at all. We just played when we felt like it, and came up with some stuff we were really happy with. So I think it was really efficient and really focused effort.
Cool. And I suppose you would have also got to know each other pretty fast that way as well.
That's true. Definitely, that's true.
And there's a bit of an age gap there between Billy and the rest of you.
There is, but I try not to accept that.
Yeah.
Try to stay young as long as possible. Dillinger Escape Plan is it's like being in Neverland. We're all like Peter Pan. We just can't accept that we're getting older.
So you still all act like you're 20?
Yeah, you know, when you've been doing the same thing for over 10 years, exactly every day, pretty much, it's hard to know. Sometimes, like, you know, you just go on tour year after year, and then you come home and you look at your friends and you realize, wow, they seem really old, and then you're like, wait, we're the same age, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I guess I'm old too.
Have you found that there's a new dynamic within the band with Billy involved?
Has the dynamic changed, did you say?
Yeah.
Well, not really. I mean, other than that, we get along really well. I think having somebody who's really appreciative to be in this position and really excited to not only prove himself as a drummer, but like fill the shoes of the drummers we've had in the past, and help take things to the next level is really exciting and adds a great energy to things. So, yeah, I think anytime you have people in a band that are still excited and aren't jaded by the business and by the the experience is always refreshing.
How did you find Billy?
Well, we were trying out different drummers for a number of months. Some were just people sending us YouTube videos of them playing our songs. Some were people we knew. Some were people from other bands. And he was really the last guy that we tried out, and he just had something special. We just knew there was something special about him. So cool. We didn't want to pass up the opportunity to give him a shot. And we're happy that we were right. He definitely was the right guy for the job.
Awesome. And I've read in a couple of other interviews that the situation got pretty bad before Chris left. How bad was it?
Well, I mean, anytime, it's difficult in general just to be in a band, especially when it starts to get as serious as Dillinger has. I mean, we never thought this was going to be our full-time career, this band, when we first started, and now it is. So it's really hard when, especially since we run things all on our own, and there's very little middlemen to get involved. It gets quite stressful in the world of Dillinger. So yeah, I mean, Chris was somebody who just really loved playing drums and didn't really want to necessarily pay attention to a lot of the other details involved, and I think that became a little bit of a problem between the band members. But anyway, I mean, I think it was better off for everyone. It was time. Sometimes things expire, and I think that he got everything he needed out of Dillinger and moved on, and that's fine, and we're still happy to be doing what we're doing. So
awesome. Onward and upward.
Sorry, what?
Did the friction that was there towards the end before Chris left, did that manifest itself in the content for the new album?
Well, he left before we recorded our record before this Iowa work. So,
okay.
I mean, a lot of that tension and all that stuff was really, dealt with during the recording and the process of that record. I think that, by the time we started Option Paralysis, we were kind of over it. We were just like, you know what, we may have not been exactly happy with the way things went down, but, it's the past now, and the future is bright. So we weren't really thinking about any of that during the recording of this record. That's for sure.
So, was there a similar thread that goes through this album lyrically? What kind of themes did you cover with this?
Lyrically?
Yeah.
Well, I think the overall theme of the record is basically based around the idea that we're kind of in a time where people are a little bit lost. There's so much easy access to information and and there's so much new technologies that people are a little bit lost and don't know what to do with themselves. For the first time in history, I think that technology has advanced farther than we know what to do with it. And so that's a lot of what's been kind of influencing this record and a lot of the stuff that we've been thinking about, especially being in a band for as many years as we've been in a band, and seeing the process of how bands conduct themselves and different genres come and go and things like that during the whole time that we've been actually a band. It's just an interesting thing for us to see how culture's been affected by all these things, especially being a band that it benefits so much from technology. So a lot of things that this record touches on is just the fact that people are a little bit lost and they need to just kind of refocus on what's important.
Yeah. How much, I guess, does technology affect what Dillinger does? Like, do you embrace it yourselves, or do you try and...
Absolutely. I mean, we embrace it a great deal. It's been an extremely important part of our band, especially, considering we're so into experimentation in the way that we make our music, but also just because of the fact that we're not a giant band on some giant major label with a lot of marketing and a lot of people running things. I mean, we do everything on our own, and technology and the internet has been a really important tool for us. But the difference is that it is a tool, and you shouldn't use it as a means to an end or as a source of inspiration necessarily. The fact is that everybody out there can find a blueprint on how to do things on the internet or on TV or anywhere else in about 5 seconds, and we feel like that's definitely had a negative effect on culture in general. So we just really try to continue to push people and push ourselves, and try and create some level of unpredictability. We try not to use other bands as a source of as like a guideline in front of how we should. We just try to do things our own way and just push ourselves and push our listeners as well. So that's really what we're all about.
Cool. And you were talking about experimentation. How do you go about songwriting in Dillinger Escape Plan? You've got such a seemingly complex, and often the riffs are quite spasmodic. What's the process in writing riffs and coming up with songs?
Well, normally, being the main songwriter or whatever, from day one, it usually starts with me having some kind of either guitar ideas or drum ideas or rhythms or things like that either I've kind of messed around with or programmed, often in the back of a bus on a tour or something like that. And those are kind of the starting points for the songs that then we jam out and work on and flush out. The next step is usually myself and our drummer just kind of working on the ideas and jamming them out and coming up with sort of skeletons of songs that then the other guys can come in and help color, and eventually we have a record. So that's the basic process.
What kind of inspiration do you have? What did you grow up listening to?
I mean, we all listen to a lot of different things. Got anything from the old music like David Bowie or King Crimson or things like that to there's a few new things going on. And we have a band on tour with us right now called Animals as Leaders, which is really inspiring really amazing guitar work. But in general, I don't know. I listen to a lot of just old music.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of new music.
Okay, and I guess because you often use unconventional time signatures and accenting and what have you, would that have come?
Well, I mean, honestly, a lot of that stuff's been influenced by anything from, like I said, old fusion music like King Crimson or something like that, or Mahavishnu Orchestra, or whatever, or Zappa,
Cool.
to like electronic music, which is kind of unconventional and sporadic. A lot of what's influenced my guitar playing has been people who use computers and synthesizers to create music, and
cool.
I don't know, I kind of attribute that to some of the weird kind of chords and noises I make.
Yeah.
And rhythms, and kind of what sounds sometimes random rhythmically is often just inspired by a lot of these sequences and stuff like that I listen to with electronic music.
Awesome. And what kind of gear did you just use the same rig that you use on the road during the recording?
Yeah, well, one main difference that I did use was a Mesa Boogie Mark V,
okay,
which is a fairly new head that Mesa Boogie's made. The Mark IV was a popular head for a very long time, but this head was amazing. They lent it to me for the recording, and it's literally the best sounding head I've ever used. And I've used different brands. I've mixed it up on records, but I ended up probably using this head 90% of the whole recording because it was so diverse. So I really love that head, and I haven't been using it live yet, but I'll probably incorporate it into my live setup as well.
Okay, and what are you using live?
I'm using a Mesa Boogie triple rectifier. I've been using that for years.
Mm-hmm.
It's really reliable. So I tend to go with things that are simple and easy and reliable, considering the chaos that happens when we play. I try to keep things as simple as possible.
Yeah.
My setup is pretty easy and simple.
And how important is the quality or the type of gear that you're using to you?
It's important, I think, to have high quality gear and stuff that sounds good, and especially with the music we play. It's so chaotic and fast, and there's so much going on that you have to really try and have a clear tone and have things, work at the very least the way they're supposed to be working. But a lot of, I place a little bit more importance on things like your technique and how you pick and things like that. I think the most tone is in your wrist and in your hands.
Yeah.
I've always felt that way. I play very aggressively, and I hold my pick very specifically in a way that I feel like brings the attack and the definition to our music that it needs.
Cool.
It's very strategic in that way.
Am I right? You often, at least on the road, you're playing an ESP LTD 1000 series.
Yeah.
That it kind of, I guess that's a little different from a lot of other, I guess, major touring bands that seem to go out of their way to get the most prestigious kind of guitar they can. Is you find that the quality is good, or they're just a good workhorse?
Right now I'm using both a regular ESP and an ESP LTD, and the truth is, and on the record I used both as well. I also used a Gibson on some parts, like a Les Paul on some parts, and a semi-hollow body ESP as well for some other parts. But the truth is that there's certain times when the LTD just sounded better.
Cool.
And they're really great, sturdy guitars. So for live, with the what I'm looking for, I use EMGs 81s, which have a pretty specific sound, regardless of what guitar you're using.
Yeah.
And but in general, the LTDs take a lot of abuse, which is important for me, and they also have kind of an aggressive sound. Like I said, there's often times when I was using a regular, a much more higher end ESP on the recording, and I switched back to the LTD because it just sounded more aggressive.
Cool. And you were on stage, I think it was last year, you toured with 9 Inch Nails? Was it last year or the year before?
Yeah, we did some stuff in Australia with Nails, Soundwave Festival, and then we did a few shows just kind of playing with Trent and Nails in the States as well.
Cool. Has that kind of, I guess it's it's a lot closer than many touring bands get to one another. Has there been any talk of collaborating with Trent in any way?
I don't know. I mean, he's kind of busy having a normal life right now. I think he is already working on some music for something. I don't know what, but we have talked about doing something in the future. Nothing specific though.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, who knows?
It'd be quite an interesting meld of styles. I think it'd be.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be cool. I'd be into it for sure.
And you mentioned that you do pretty much everything yourselves, and you started your own label before the new album came out. What are your thoughts on the state of the music industry at the moment?
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of the wild, wild west right now. Everyone's trying to figure it out. But I do know that we've been lucky enough to never really rely on the industry that much for the way that we do things. You know, we put out records so that we can tour and sell shirts, and that's pretty much what we do. You know, and so we're just continuing to do that very same thing. You know, a lot of people get caught up in numbers and like who sells more, or who's got this bigger charting, or this or that, or whatever. And like, it just doesn't really matter to me. You know, we're on tour right now for our new record. Kids are excited, whether they got it from a store, they downloaded it, or whatever. They're excited to see us, and the shows are going great. And we never have been. The energy around this band has never been better. So regardless of the state of the industry, it doesn't really matter to me. As far as like, you know, an overall idea about it, I mean, I guess there's just two different types of bands as far as I'm concerned. There's and there's a line. And it's like the bands on that side who are still trying to worry about image and major labels and the old way of doing things and following the herd. And then there's the other side of the line, which is bands like Nine Inch Nails and bands like Radiohead and people like Mike Patton and hopefully bands like us as well, who just kind of do things their own way and make it work for them.
Cool. And you mentioned downloading. Where do you stand on that subject?
It's hard because, you know, a lot of the idea, you know, downloading doesn't affect, you know, some big country artist or some pop artist as much as it affects us, to be honest with you, because, you know, our fans are pretty savvy as far as like computers go, and they know how to get our record without paying for it pretty easily. And the only thing that sucks is that, you know, when people download your record, there becomes less resources for you to make records, you know. So, you know, we do need to sell a certain amount of records just to maintain a level of function, being able to function and make records and, you know, whatever. But at the same time, like I said, you know, if that person comes to our show and buys a shirt, I think that's an equal trade, man. That's fair enough, you know, in many ways as well. So, and that seems to be the case. That our true fans seem to be pretty supportive. They want our records. They want to have the packaging. They want to come to the show. They want to buy a shirt. So, you know, I just hope that if you know, people do download our music eventually, you know, if they really like it and they become a fan, that they do support us in some way. Yeah,
cool. And at what point in your career did you find that you could do it full time?
It's kind of weird. It's you know, this band has never had some kind of moment of like immediate success. It's never been some kind of overnight thing for us. We've really been doing this for over 10 years, and it's been a steady, slow climb for us. We one day, you know, I just kept taking off of work to go tour, and then eventually I just never went back.
Cool.
Because the touring just became so heavy and the opportunities were there. So it really has been gradual.
And you do seem to tour a lot. Is that because you love it, because you find that you have to, because of the reduced resources of downloading, or it's just necessary to keep pushing the brand?
All of the above, really.
Yeah.
Sure, I'd probably like to tour a couple months less than I do, just because it gets tiring, but I do love going on stage every night, and it really is enjoyable, and we love bringing our music to people, and again, that's what we do. We write records, and then we write records, and then we go play it for people live, so
cool.
That's the deal, but yeah, I mean, it is our job, it is how I pay my bills, so yeah, we do. There is a degree of yeah, we got to do this. But most of it is just for the sake of, yeah, we want to bring our music to people.
Awesome. And what should people be expecting from Dillinger Escape Plan in the live arena for people who, if they've never seen you before?
What should they expect from Dillinger? That's a hard question because I never really know what to expect myself. Every day is different, every club is different, every fan is different. Every day something happens I would never expect. So, and that's the one thing I love about this band. So hopefully the only thing I can promise is some level of unpredictability.
Cool, that's awesome. And you've played over here a few times before. How do the Australian audiences compared to other countries?
Australia's awesome. I mean, it's one of our favorite places to play. The Australian fans have always been super accepting of diverse and interesting music. I remember, very early on in our career, talking to Mike Patton when we toured with Mr. Bongo about Australia and saying how supportive the Australian fans are of his music and stuff like that. And then when we finally had a chance to get over there, we saw just how awesome it was.
Yeah. So,
I mean, we're really we would play there all the time if we could, but it's a little far away.
Yeah, 14 hours is a long way to go.
Looking forward to it.
That's all I've got to ask. Thanks very much for your time.
No problem. Thank you, man.
Hope you get better.
Bye-bye.
See you.